In this video, I would like to talk about how you do basic selections in AutoCAD. And it's really fairly simple, but it's important to know a few of the little tricks. So essentially, if you want to select something, you click on it. So I have a basic 4-line rectangle here. If I want to select any one of the lines, I simply hover my cursor over it and click on it. And once something's selected without having a command active, what you'll see is that you get these dotted lines with these blue kind of grippers on them. Okay, so I can come around and actually click each one of these lines. So if I wanted to select the whole thing, that would be one way to do it. If I want to get out of that and deselect it, I can just hit escape. So once again, that's simply just clicking on the line. Now, what if I have a couple of lines clicked, something like this, and I didn't want one of them selected for one reason or another? All I have to do is hold down the Shift key, click on the line, and now it's deselected. I can select it again by clicking on it, or holding down the Shift key and deselecting. With something this simple, it'd probably be just easier to hit escape, but you can imagine if you were working on something more complicated, why that would be useful. So that's just clicking on things. But beyond that, a way of selecting is using window and crossing selections, and that's really useful when you get a little bit more complicated. So just with our rectangle example, instead of clicking on each one individually, I could actually just click and drag my mouse out while holding that down, and then I would have selected the whole thing. Okay. Now notice if I click from right to left, I get a green box with a dashed line around it. That is a crossing selection. If I go from left to right, I'm getting a blue box with a solid line. Okay, so with the blue box with the solid line, my window selection, it will only select what's entirely within this box. So notice if I click and drag it right now, the only line that I have entirely within this window is the vertical line. So if I click and drag and then let go, that's the only line that's selected. Conversely, if I go from right to left, and I have the green box with the dotted line, it will select everything it crosses, everything it touches. So now I will get both of these lines that are making up this 90-degree angle, even though neither of them is within that entire box. Okay, so there's a big difference between these two selection methods, but you can use them both. And you can even use them while holding down the Shift key, for example, to select or deselect different elements. So it can all work together. So I can hold down Shift to deselect this one, I can click and drag, I can hold down Shift and click and drag, and so on. So you can use them all together. It's different ways of selecting, but it's very, very handy. And once you get into something more complicated, you'll see how it's very useful in maybe picking out smaller elements, but not everything that you didn't mean to pick, for example. So if you're working on floor plans and things like that, you can see how that would be really useful. So it's simply clicking, holding down the Shift key to deselect, and then using window and crossing selections to do basic selecting within your drawing.